Why is the U.S. suddenly surrounding Venezuela with warships? And why is the Pope even weighing in?
Hay ese peligro, esa posibilidad de que haya alguna actividad, alguna operación, incluso invadiendo el territorio de Venezuela. Que es, digamos, mejor buscar maneras de diálogo, quizás presión, incluso presión económica, pero buscando otra manera para cambiar si es lo que deciden hacer en Estados Unidos.
Over the past couple of weeks, the U.S. has launched a major military operation in the Caribbean, and it's getting a lot of attention. Over the weekend, President Trump warned airlines, pilots, smugglers, drug traffickers, basically everyone, to avoid Venezuelan airspace completely. And he said the entire area around the country was closed. This comes as part of Operation Southern Spear, which began on November 13th. The operation brought more than a dozen U.S. warships to the region, including the USS Gerald R. Ford. In short, Venezuela is now surrounded by American naval power. The official reason? The Trump administration claims Venezuela's government under Nicolás Maduro allows narco-terrorist groups like Tren de Aragua to ship drugs into the U.S. So at Trump's final cabinet meeting of the year, he and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth argued that this operation is about destroying cartel boats, stopping drug trafficking, and reversing what they say was a weak approach under the Biden administration.
And then it's getting after and going after narco-terrorists and designated terrorist organizations in our own hemisphere. As I've said, and I'll say again, we've only just begun striking narco boats and putting narco-terrorists at the bottom of the ocean because they've been poisoning the American people. And Joe Biden tried to approach it with kid gloves. And allowed them to come across the border, cartels take over community, 20 million people, hundreds of thousands of Americans poisoned. And President Trump said, no, we're taking the gloves off. We're taking the fight to these designated terror organizations, and it's exactly what we're doing. So we're stopping the drugs, we're striking the boats, we're defeating narco-terrorists, and we're standing...
And Pete, you may say one thing, that drugs coming in through the sea by sea are down 91%. And I don't know who the 9% is.
I'm not sure either, sir, because...
But down 91% by sea.
We've had a bit of a pause because it's hard to find boats to strike right now. Which is the entire point, right? Deterrence has to matter, not arrest and hand over and then do it again, the rinse and repeat approach of previous administrations. This is meant to get after that approach. And I will just end by saying, as President Trump always has our back, we always have the back of our commanders who are making decisions in difficult situations, and we do in this case and all these strikes. They're making judgment calls and ensuring that they defend the American people. They've done the right things. We'll keep doing that, and we have their backs, Mr. President.
Good job. Thank you very much. Howard?
Over the weekend, Trump confirmed that in a November 21st phone call, he spoke to President Maduro, but did not go into further detail.
The New York Times reported that you had a phone call with Maduro. Did you?
I don't want to comment on it. The answer is yes.
And can you tell us a little bit
No,
about
I can't
it?
do that.
Mr. President, would you say it went well?
I wouldn't say it went well or badly. It was a phone call, yeah.
Now, according to multiple reports, during the phone call, Maduro asked for legal amnesty for himself, his family, and top officials. He wanted U.S. sanctions lifted. He offered to step down, but only if he got safe passage and guarantees. And he wanted an interim government led by his own vice president. Trump reportedly rejected most of this and told Maduro he had 1 week to leave Venezuela. That deadline expired on Friday, and the next day, Trump declared Venezuelan airspace closed. Now, a major part of the current tension stems from an incident back on September 2nd, 2025. Under Hegseth's authority, SEAL Team 6 sank a speedboat carrying an estimated $70 million in drugs. After the first strike, 2 survivors were reportedly seen clinging to debris. Now, according to a widely cited report, Hegseth allegedly gave a verbal order to, quote, kill everybody, the survivors. Former military lawyers have said that if that order was given and followed, it could be considered a war crime because killing incapacitated shipwreck survivors is illegal under U.S. law and international law. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that Admiral Frank Bradley, not Hegseth, was the officer who directed the engagement, distancing Hegseth from accountability despite a Washington Post report that he ordered the death of everyone on the boat. She said Bradley acted legally and within his authority to neutralize a threat.
The latter is true, Abe, and I have a statement to read for you here. President Trump and Secretary Hegseth have made it clear that presidentially designated narco-terrorist groups are subject to lethal targeting in accordance with the laws of war. With respect to the strikes in question on September 2nd, Secretary Hegseth authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat to the United States of America was eliminated. And I would just add one more point to remind the American public why these lethal strikes are taking place. Because this administration has designated these narco-terrorists as foreign terrorist organizations. The president has a right to take them out if they are threatening the United States of America and if they are bringing illegal narcotics that are killing our citizens at a record rate, which is what they are doing. And under the previous administration, there was enough fentanyl trafficked into our country to kill every American man, woman, and child many times over. And so that's why you've seen a drastic difference in this administration's policy with respect to the last, and it's one of the many reasons the American public re-elected this president and support this Secretary of War in conducting these strikes.
Hegseth has defended the overall campaign and called Bradley, quote, an American hero. Publicly, he's denied giving an illegal order and says reports about the, quote, kill everybody command are, quote, fake news. Hegseth showed his support for Bradley in a post on Monday, saying, quote, and let me be very clear, killing shipwreck survivors is a war crime. The Pentagon's own Department of Defense law manual on the law of war literally says that, quote, orders to fire upon the shipwreck will be clearly illegal. Now, lawmakers from both parties, they want more transparency. Many point out that if survivors were intentionally killed, it could clearly violate the laws of war. Representative Ted Lieu straight up called these strikes a war crime.
Let me be very clear. Killing shipwreck survivors is a war crime. The Pentagon's own Department of Defense law manual on the law of war literally says that, quote, orders to fire upon the shipwreck will be clearly illegal.
Armed Services Committee Chairman Senator Roger Wicker says he expects to review full audio and video of the strike and wants to know whether survivors were killed.
We're going to conduct oversight, and we're going to try to get to the facts. And to the extent that we're able to see videos and see what the orders were, we'll have a lot more information other than just news reports. So that's what we're going to do, and it's our function. I've spoken to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I've spoken to the Secretary of Defense, and we'll be speaking to the admiral that was in charge of the operation.
And House Speaker Mike Johnson says Congress has the right to see the evidence, but won't prejudge the situation.
We're going to have to look at that. I'm sure Congress has a right to look at it. I don't know how much of the tape should be released because I'm not sure how much is sensitive with regard to national security and all that. I haven't had a chance to review it, so I'm not going to prejudge it. But I will say that, you know, it's not an unprecedented thing. One of the things I was reminded of this morning is that under Barack Obama, President Obama, he had, I think, over 550 drone strikes on people who were targeted as enemies of the country, and nobody ever questioned it, okay? And secondary strikes are not unusual. It has to happen if a mission is going to be completed.
A month after the strike, Bradley was promoted from Commander of Joint Special Operations Command to Commander of U.S. Special Operations Command. He's expected to provide a classified briefing to lawmakers overseeing the military on Thursday.